move on to the panel discussion. So we have a esteemed panel with us on board right now. So we have Abhinav Mohan, VP of Monetization at Glance. We have Arjun Ravi Koladi, Head of Sales at India Spotify. We have Kaushik Anand, partner at A91 Partners. And we have Sunil Chawla, co-founder of Social Beat. So I will now invite Sunil, who will be moderating the panel discussion. Over to you, Sunil. Thank you.
Thanks, Abhishek, and a very insightful presentation there, especially on the growth of the digital ad market, to I think 2 lakh crores is what I was seeing. That's really a massive amount. And hi, Abhinav, hi, Kaushik, and Arjun. Great to connect with you all.
Hey, Sunil.
Hey, Sunil. Hi. Not sure. Is my video showing up?
Not,
yeah, I'm just sorting that out, but we should keep going.
All right, great. So I think, to get started, I think it'll be great to get your perspectives on the overall growth for the digital ad market. I was seeing that shift, from other mediums to digital happen. And I think given you all are coming from, very different brands itself, it'll be very interesting to hear that to kind of kickstart the discussion. So should we start with Kaushik? Do you want to share a little bit about, do you see, some of your portfolio brands like Sugar and, Digit shifting more money to digital?
Yeah. So I think we have a couple of perspectives, one coming from the consumer brand side, but the other because we've also investors in ads business and in shorts and historically in some other businesses in the past. So I think what's interesting is that at least in certain segments, I think we're already starting to see significant ad shifts move to digital. And we're seeing it in 2 layers. I mean, obviously it moves first to Google and Facebook because that's what digital marketers buy first. But we are also seeing it moving into other platforms, which could be an e-commerce site or some other vertical specific platforms or otherwise. Largely because as people come on to digital, I think they realize that ROI is better measurable. And then it gives you more optionality in terms of where you can go. So from the presentation, totally buy how the share shift is happening. The top level numbers itself obviously depend on economy growth. That's a little harder to comment, but at least the share shift we are seeing within our portfolio.
Abhinav, Arjun, you want to go next, Abhinav?
Yeah, sure, I can do that. Yeah, obviously we are a mobile-first digital platform, both InMobi as well as Glance. So that's what our business is, and we see definitely a fairly large growth in terms of brands actually coming more and more to digital and spending more and more money on digital outside of just looking at TV, print, OOH, etc. One of the points that Kaushik made of measurability of ROI, of being able to understand who your consumer is and are you able to reach your consumer or not, that's definitely a big priority for brands. But I would also say just purely reach is something that they're looking at as well, right? And the fact that you are able to not just reach your consumer, but you are able to customize your messaging to that particular consumer based on the data that you already have makes a humongous difference. Because we are in India is not just one country. It's a land of so many different cultures, regions, religions, languages, etc. One message does not fit all, and we all know that, right? But we've all lived with the fact that, okay, you know what, maybe we need something to be very, very mass for it to resonate. Otherwise, if you want to go a little more hyper when it comes to targeting, you probably will not, it will not work for you in other mediums. But digital is a medium which works for them, right? And that's why we see on the brand side, we see a massive increase in this effort to collect more and more data, store more and more first-party data, and use more and more first-party data for personalization in terms of the messaging, in terms of the content, and in terms of obviously final deliverable, and then see the ROI. And that's something that we see, happening across all industries, right? So obviously, online first are industries like your O2O type of companies are increasing their ad spend more and more on digital, which makes sense for them. But you also see offline companies increasing that percentage even more. So yeah, definitely expecting the digital ad landscape for India to grow massively over a period of time.
Thanks, Abhinav. I did have a few, questions, specific to your experience at Glance itself. But maybe first we can hear Arjun and from
Sure, I can go next. So, I mean, obviously, great points by Kaushik and Abhinav. I want to add, a couple of other perspectives as well. One is obviously, as a person in the market, great to see 10x growth projections. That's why we are here. So, hoping all of the numbers pan out. And we did probe the RedSeer team, I think, in the pre. Are you sure this is happening? Show me your backend numbers, and seemed like it is definitely something that looks probable. So that's great for anybody in our business. I think just a few different sort of points of view. One is traditionally, for the longest time, TV has been not only the largest medium from a reach point of view, but unlike other markets, especially if you look at more mature markets globally, TV is also relatively cheap in India. It's not that you will do one moonshot campaign around Super Bowl and spend all your money on it. From a cost per reach metrics point of view, TV has always been cost effective. So even if you look at pure play online players spending heavily on TV, the reason is that from a pure reach metrics and the delta that it brings, it was always efficient. Now with time spent moving, I think we are going to start seeing some of those questions around the effectiveness TV start coming up, which is great for digital platforms. I think that is one. Second, from a media buyer's perspective, if you look out over the last 5-6 years, their choices have really exploded. Back in the day, if you were digital, really what you were doing was Google, Facebook, and maybe a few news sites, maybe a few local sites. That was it. It was like a limited repertoire of things you could do. Just in the last 5 to 6 years, there has been an explosion in the number of channels that are suddenly available to media planners today, which means that based on the brand you are, based on the brand positioning, based on the campaign, based on the product, you can actually be a lot more diverse. You could pick a TikTok, you could pick a Spotify, you could pick an InShorts, you could pick a Daily Hunt, right? So I think suddenly the job of the media planner is that much more difficult, but also more exciting because you have the opportunity to not just be plain vanilla, but to really do things and find those niches at scale. I think that's the second one. And I think the third thing is that with the over investment, I would say, from a time comparison point of view on platforms like YouTube and Instagram, etc., advertisers are getting increasingly competitive for a limited amount of attention from these users on these platforms, right? Which means that very soon, as the auction pressure increases, continuing to try to get share in a very, very crowded space is not going to be highly desirable to all the brands. They will try to diversify and being places where it is less crowded, more economical, more effective, the niches are available. And you add programmatic to that, and all the indicators seem to be in place for the kind of explosive growth that is being projected for this market.
Thanks for sharing that, Arjun. And I think very interesting point also on the number of platforms which are crossing that 70 million, which Abhishek highlighted. A lot of platforms are now crossing that barrier, right? I think the next question was around that of since we are seeing a lot of platforms in India itself, both domestic and some of the international players now cross that threshold, even with Spotify, Anchor, your other product. How does that change in terms of the competition? Because today most of the budgets are going to Google and Facebook. Who's going to win in this clash between the new platforms? So I'd love to probably start with Abhinav. How do you see that playing out in terms of share?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, you're right. I mean, the number of platforms crossing that threshold has increased significantly, right? And India is a DAO machine or a MAU machine for global publishers, especially. Abhishek, showed some statistic around how some of these platforms have, increased their dollar per ARPDAO. But if you look at country level numbers, you will see that ARPU and the scale is very, very different in India as compared to other markets, especially the Western markets like the US, right? So we are a low ARPU market in general, but we are a very high DAO market. And that's something that I think a lot of platforms are navigating at this point of time. So you would see a lot of platforms crossing that threshold, but I think most of them are having some struggle in terms of how to monetize these users. And especially because this next growth that is happening in terms of DAO is coming from your tier 2, tier 3 consumers, people who are coming to internet for the first time, especially on mobile, the next billion or next 100 million in India consumers, which works great in terms of time spent, but people have still not been able to figure out that model of how to monetize them. Now, if you think about how some of these platforms can carve out monetization dollars from Google and Facebook, I think we've seen that happen globally, right? And InMobi was actually one of the companies that was a challenger to these two guys. And one of the learnings that we've had is that many of these platforms will start carving out niches, which first feel like a niche, which is too small for a Google or Facebook to go very, very deep into. But just purely because of the kind of size of the market, you'll realize that that niche is actually a fairly large market. So if you think about the likes of a Daily Hunt, ShareChat, Glance, etc., the niche started off with being tier 2, tier 3 vernacular, not really a focus area for the biggies to start with. But you are realizing that that market is humongous, and there are ways to monetize that, because you have to think about experiences differently, you have to think about data differently, you have to think about content differently. It's a struggle, but if you're able to crack that market, it's a big opportunity for you, right? We at Glance, we started off with a niche of a real estate called the lock screen, because nobody else was present on the lock screen. It was a niche when we started off, but we are $100 million. So now, how do we monetize that opportunity is on us. But you see these players actually carving out niches, but increasing that in size and going deeper. TikTok was again a niche that started off, but you now realize that creator economy is booming like crazy, right? So I think you will find more of these challenger brands coming up, finding a place for themselves and slowly eroding the share of the top two, and also the e-commerce guys, by the way, because Amazon, Flipkart in India, and Amazon and other e-commerce players are humongous when it comes to digital ad spends globally as well.
Right, Abhinav. No, a very interesting point on finding a niche. Kaushik, do you agree with that? Like in shorts experience as well, finding a niche which then becomes pretty large actually.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I think, in fact, I have had a reasonably different experience from what Abhinav mentioned, in the sense that at least a couple of the companies I've been involved with, they've managed to find niches which actually have very high revenue per DAU, which then allows you to actually be profitable and have reasonable revenue scale without getting to this sort of 70 million type DAU mark, right? And I think as you look through that, what you realize is, if you have to take share from Google and Facebook, is that it's hard to compete with these large platforms on cost per impression, but you can compete with them on cost per call to action. So if you're let's say an e-commerce site, because you have highly engaged customers, you could actually offer ad inventory which is better ROI than a broader site. Or I've seen it in the auto market, where the vertical players on the new car side were actually having a better or lower cost per actual car sold than sort of Google and Facebook, at least in pockets of the market. So I think that's one way to monetize and compete against these platforms, is to find pockets and use a different metric where you can actually show return on investment to be able to compete versus Google and Facebook and their large segment of users.
I can sort of add on to that. So completely agree on the niche piece. I think that's something that, for example, Spotify does really well, or you look at Snap, right? Look at a few other companies that, I would also say, you look at somebody like a LinkedIn, which is not spoken about a lot from a marketing perspective, but there are, in India, niches can be quite big. Then it's just a question of in which part of that, where does that niche stack up, right? For us, for example, we are a, urban premium, sort of very exclusive platform. So we believe that we can charge significantly higher to the advertisers to reach an audience that has high disposable income, high e-commerce penetration, high car ownership, etc. For example, you could have something at the extreme other end where your value proposition is that you can't get this audience anywhere else but on my platform. So you need to work with me, right? So I think that is one, which is niches are important. The challenge always is, I remember back in my Facebook days when we launched, Facebook was seen as this, the American Orkut, right? Because Orkut was ruling the roost. Everybody was like, oh, Orkut, bahut simple hai. We can understand what's happening. Facebook is too complicated. It's for this B school US guys, etc., etc. And so it started off as that, upmarket network of US returnees or NRIs or whatever. But in 3 years, Orkut was dead, and Facebook was 100 million, 200 million, whatever it was. So while you may start off as a niche, as you add scale, you need to find out the right ways to monetize all parts of your audience. And if you have that problem, that's a good problem to have. I think the second I would add to that is, while it's easy to say that the dominance of Google and Facebook and Amazon probably in the days to come will be challenged, I think one thing to keep in mind is that Google and Facebook and Amazon have maybe 100 times the number of advertisers or 1,000 times the number of advertisers that a typical TV channel or a radio station or a print advertiser would, right? Because they have large self-serve SMB channels. This means that you can have 100,000 advertisers giving you 5 rupees a day, 10 rupees a day, or 100 rupees a day, while you also have your Unilevers and P&Gs and Marutis of the world, right? So I think it is not enough to assume that because you have a niche audience, you will suddenly become $1 billion business. Everybody would need to sort of size that out to see what really is the upper cap of the total number of advertisers I can get to my platform and what kind of audiences are attractive to the audience. I mean, to the brands that I want to talk to, and then go from there. So that's something I feel is not often looked at, but building an SMB muscle, if you have an audience that's attracted to SMBs, is probably a big competitive advantage.
I think Sunil is having some technical issues, so I'll just step in. So no, I think this is helpful. I think my next question, and I think possibly sort of relevant to all the audience here, but I think Arjun more specifically to you as well. So we've seen globally that when people struggle to, let's say, build an ad business, they pivoted to transactions or subscriptions. In a market like India, how do you see that? I think, especially from a Spotify point of view, let's say the revenue mix between ads and subscription, does like Indian market vary significantly from global players? And if yes, how do you see sort of it panning out in terms of how you approach this space? Yeah.
Yeah, I think obviously very different from global. If you look at our global numbers, I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but 90% of our revenue or thereabouts is subscriptions. Only 10, 12% is ads, right? So while that's a great place to be because we have so much upside from ads, we're also very lucky to be in a business where the subscription business gives us the cushion we need to build a very robust ads platform and monetize it aptly for the markets like India, where like Abhinav was saying, ARPU is low, DAU is high. And that's something that we have to live with. I think subscriptions are difficult in India, but not impossible. Sorry, apologies for the dog in the background. Not impossible, but I think you need to innovate in what those subscriptions mean. For example, if you look at the Spotify example, we basically disaggregated our pricing when we came into India. We have a daily plan, a weekly plan, a student plan, all sorts of things, right? I think globally there's going to be a lot of experiments around mixed monetization models, around maybe unlocking content on a case-by-case basis, right? So I think there are several ways in which not just purely an ad-supported business can run. Ultimately, though, the question is around the value proposition of what will the consumer pay for and what kind of an experience or what kind of a content, and then sort of building around that. I don't think that it is necessarily ads. Doing only an ad-supported business is probably the best way to go. You probably want to have 2 or 3 different tactics that you want to use if you're building up a new business to figure out how to monetize all of the users. So yeah, India is very different. We don't expect the numbers to be the same as they are globally, but we believe there are enough opportunities to innovate, to unlock value, cross-pricing, product offerings, et cetera, to try and drive that as well.
Right. I think Sunil is also back.
Hey, Abhishek, thanks for stepping in. Yeah, I did drop off due to a power issue.
Yeah.
Wait, I think, have you covered on subscription with Kaushik and Abhinav?
I think we've asked Arjun. I think maybe if Abhinav has to add anything, I think it would be interesting to hear his thoughts.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, ads is predominant at this point of time in the ecosystem, and there's no denying that. The other forms of monetization are up and coming and fairly low in terms of percentage at this point of time. But it also depends on what property you have, right? And what is the value proposition that you are giving to your consumers. The biggest advantage, I think, with ads is that it's democratized in the sense that it's there for every single user that's on your platform. So if you're playing a game, every single user who's playing a game can see an ad, and I can effectively monetize every single user. But when it comes to a subscription, that might not necessarily be the case, right? So you have to try out multiple different variants or models within subscription that Arjun was talking about to be able to monetize a larger set of user. But obviously it's more sticky and higher quality user, better loyalty, and so on and so forth. One of the things that's coming out very interestingly in India, obviously, is this entire microtransaction piece, right? And I think what has changed is this whole mentality of being able to put a price tag to entertainment. I don't think that that existed in India before, but it's coming to life more and more. A few years back, I thought it was extremely counterintuitive that people will actually put in 30 rupees or 50 rupees to build their fantasy league team, or to play a rummy game, or to play a carom game, yeah, on mobile. Like, you would expect that India is a stingy market, and people will not do that, but people are doing that because people are now comfortable putting a price tag to entertainment, and they are okay spending that 30 rupees or a 50 rupees for that 30 minutes of entertainment or 1 hour of entertainment. But not just that, there is a possible outcome of victory or a reward that is also promised, right? So think of a lottery, but a lottery where the odds are with you, or you have a chance to influence that, because your lottery was all luck. Here it is skill based through rummy or through one of these fantasy league games. We are also seeing trends where, and this is something that we are investing as well as Glance and Reposo, where you can create scenarios where, with your favorite stars, or for entertainment, or your celebs or your heroes or creators, people that you aspire to talk to or follow or relate to in general, there is a possibility of a two-way communication in some way or the other, which was never possible before. And if you have a platform where a Disha Patani is coming and doing a show, and you have an opportunity to be on the front row digitally, and front row is nothing but your name appearing as 20 people who are on the front row. Or very recently Tanmay Bhatt was doing this YouTube stream of a carom game on an online RMG game, and people were paying money so that they could either show their comment on the screen, or even better still, be part of that live stream where they're playing a carom game with Tanmay Bhatt and maybe asking a question. And there was this guy who paid, I think, a 500 pound number, because the upper limit in INR was 10,000 rupees. So, and people are able to fulfill their fantasies, their dreams. There is a chance of reward. There's an element of entertainment. I think microtransaction is a very interesting space that's growing in India. Where will it go and how big will it become? Honestly, don't know. But it's becoming very interesting.
I think Glance has been in the news as well recently, right, with the Reposo and Shopano purchase for commerce as well. Really fascinating. I think since Abhinav, you started on the creator side, it'll be great to get the opinion of the panel as well on the creator economy. How is that? I think you touched a little bit on the Patreon type of model of micro payments by some of the fans. But is that going to help the ad market itself, through the personalization, which Kaushik and Arjun were also talking about earlier? How do you all see that playing out? Arjun, do you want to start that on the creator side? What's your perspective?
Sure. I think one, I'm not sure of, at least from a Spotify perspective, of the impact of creator side on advertising, because largely for us, I'm just saying our view, there are two types of creators, right? You have musicians and you have podcasters. The economics of both of these types of creation are very, very different. I think what we want to do is to be able to help any kind of creator live off their creations. Currently, of course, that is taking the form of content deals or subscriptions. Or I don't know if you saw what we did with Stratechery, where if you're a Stratechery subscriber, you can come to Spotify and unlock certain podcasts by paying, by sort of logging in with your Stratechery ID, right? So you're basically giving the creator an ability to distribute across multiple platforms where his listener could be, while continuing the same relationship with the creator and the consumer without sort of getting in between that, right? So I think there are interesting models there. For me, at least in the short term, I mean, obviously brands have taken to the whole creator/influencer part of things in a very, very strong way, largely driven by TikTok as well. I think for me, the immediate opportunity, at least from an audio point of view, is around fixing the sort of podcast ecosystem. Because right now, if you think of the way audio works, and the rest could talk about display or video or any of the others, but specifically around audio, the way it works is, if you are a creator today, it is very difficult for you to make money off your podcast, right? What do? You either have to go hawking it to some brand, hoping that they buy it. There is no AdSense equivalent of it. There is no way to there is no technology layer that is allowing creators to together monetize the content that they may be putting out in audio, right? So that's something we are solving for. I don't have a specific answer as to how I see the brands being a part of that. But I think it is definitely something that's interesting, and different models will evolve. We'll wait and see. At least on audio, our approach has been to build a network and help creators sort of either opt into brand advertising or directly take money from subscribers for that particular content.
We're still getting built out in terms of the stack over there. Kaushik, what's your experience on the creator economy?
So I would not say I have a lot of direct sort of exposure into this. I think it's pretty early, as Arjun was also indicating. I think the one thing we have noticed though is that most platforms seem to have a power law nature of who makes money, irrespective of which platform it is. There's a few people who probably take most of the money, and I think that's one of the problems. I think democratizing it, and I mean, it's obviously not going to be equal, but I think platforms which are able to provide a wider audience with an ability to monetize, at least from a platform perspective, will probably end up having a better record. At least that's our view, but I don't think we have any direct experience in this market.
Kaushik. And Abhinav, do you want to share a little bit about, how you see the creator economy? I think you all are doing a lot of things at Glance as well, right, on this side.
Yeah, absolutely. We are actually very, very bullish on creator economy. And I think to understand creator economy, I would like to take a step back on why this economy is booming at this point of time, right? I don't think it's a fad. And the reason is that, if you think about creators, they bring authenticity to the table, they bring relatability to the table, and they bring affinity to the table, right? So people, if you think about celebs, the problem with celebs is they're great, to look at and to enjoy the piece of entertainment, but they're just so out of reach for a common consumer, right? So you can't even aspire to be like Shah Rukh Khan. You're not even there yet. The great thing about creators is that, they are at arm's length. So everybody can aspire to be like them. People relate to them because, someone like a Bhuvan Ban is from a tier 2 town, has probably come up from the same environment that a lot of us have come up from. And, we see him becoming successful, not in a Bollywood, which is an insanely, high struggle, completely different industry. This is through being a creator on YouTube. And there's so many such creators out there. So relatability and authenticity is a very big part of why creators are doing so well. And that's exactly what brands are looking to tap into as well, right? Because brands are looking to be authentic in front of consumers, and they are trying to do that through creators. We call creators storytellers because they are actually telling the story of the brand to the final consumer in their own style. And consumers are lapping it up. They are purchasing what the creator is talking about or trying to sell. This shows in not just brand promotions, but also in commerce. An example, this is obviously an extreme example, but somebody like a Kim Kardashian went live in China, sold 15,000 bottles of her perfume in less than a minute on live, because the format, by the way, was also an interesting format. And that's the second evolution that we see with creator economy. Formats are going to change as well. So you have a short video format, which is sort of passive, where a consumer is taking in the content passively for a creator, following them, yes, but it's still a passive engagement. But then you move on to the next level of interaction, which is live, through live streaming, live commerce, live interactions, live shows. And that's where these microtransactions actually start becoming big. And brands are actually lapping it up. We see that in China very, very heavily. We see that in the US as well. Some of the brands that Abhishek talked about, Kuaishou, Douyin, these guys are, these are multi-billion-dollar businesses in China purely on live and creator economy. So we are very bullish of how this is going to play in India. We are looking to bring live in India and be that pioneer in India for live creator commerce and creator economy. Let's see how that pans out.
Thanks, Abhinav. Yeah, I think when we at SocialBeat, we have a platform called Influencer.in where we've had, around 70,000 creators. And to Kaushik's point, it's definitely 80-20, right? Like the top few thousand ones making most of the money. I think the traction also actually, for the brand platform to address this question, we have seen even on Facebook and YouTube, user-generated content actually being used for paid promotions by brands, which helps increase their, CTRs and, the effectiveness of ad campaigns. So if the ad campaigns are more effective, then by definition, you're going to spend more money on that platform as well. So we
Yeah.
saw when TikTok came on board, and for companies like KhataBook, which use influencers aggressively on such platforms, you could really maximize your ad revenue as well, from the platforms, because the authenticity was there. Absolutely. No, great. I think we are running short of time, but really exciting to hear that this 2 lakh goal in terms of the ad market is happening, and it's also a lot of new platforms with supposed niches are coming up, which are actually going to be mainstream. I think Glance, Spotify, InShots all have their audiences which are in millions of users today in terms of daily active users, and definitely Abhishek, over to you, to take this forward. But thank you, everyone. Thanks, Abhinav, Kaushik, and Arjun, for the insight.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Abhinav, Arjun, Kaushik, Sunil.